Hello. I think I'm going live now. I think I should be going on. Let me put the comments up so we can see if you guys are there. On Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and LinkedIn should be on board. Instagram is up here. Let me click go live on Instagram. It's on a different phone. I lost my shirt there. It's so funny how the camera on the iPhone for Instagram is so different than the one here on the computer, which is kind of like bleh. Just two completely different shots, even though it's both me just sitting there. Hello, everybody. Say hello. Tell me where you are, where you're watching from. Laguna Queen, Leanna Lee. And let me turn on my can't post comments to some destinations, learn more. I have it on comments. Anyway, first thing I'd love everybody to do is give me a wave and tell me where you are. Oh, Leanna, thank you for saying that. Leanna Lee says your voice is calming. My daughter's name is Carrington Lee, spelled your same way, L-E-I-G-H. I'm Wendy Lee, but L-E-E, just to let you know, little known fact. Oh, you're up in Ventura. Okay, hello from Fort Worth, Texas. How are you? Hi. Oh, here we are coming over onto Facebook and YouTube and LinkedIn and Twitter. Just take a minute. Come on. Hi from Tyler from Minnesota, from Phoenix. Hi, Lorenzo from Phoenix. Hello, Robert from Columbus, Ohio. Lawrence, you mean Lawrence, Kansas? I don't know. This is a good question. How can you be so elegant if you don't even practice the rituals of being elegant? What are the rituals of being elegant? I just came from a shoot, so I had a makeup artist do my face. It's not me. What do you mean righteous of being elegant? What? I don't know. Someone says, why are the vast majority of white folks racist, yet they want to tan their skin? Because we know it's beautiful. I remember when my kids were little, and if you don't know, my kids are biracial, African-American and me, Irish-Canadian. And one time we were in the bathtub, my kid was like 2 or 3, and she was like putting her beautiful brown leg beside mine. And she goes, Mommy, how come your skin is white and how come mine is brown? And I said, because I know how to make beautiful humans. I'm no dummy. Hi up there. Tell me where you guys are. I like to know where people are watching from. Hi, hey, Mr. Kulas. I can't even call you John. Mr. Kulas. He's teacher. Teachers are Mr. Mr. Kulas from Santa Monica. And South Lake Tahoe. Oh, it must be beautiful up there. And where else, you guys? Tell me where you are. So I don't have anything planned. Last time I was eating pizza and drinking wine, and it was fine. This time I just woofed down an old salad and some sweet potatoes because I worked all day and I was tired. So if you have a question, you can just post a question and maybe I'll be able to see it. Hello, Karen from Lakewood. How are you? What medical field I am. I am a psychologist. I have a PhD in clinical psychology. My PhD is a doctorate of psychology. I teach psychology of health counseling at Cal State Channel Islands, where we look at the biopsychosocial pieces of health. I also, okay, I can't get this even, it's cricket, teach developmental psychology. Hello from Lake Elsinore. And I also teach this semester an introduction to psychology course, which I love. Somebody had a hamburger and green beans and Spanish rice. A little too much carbs, just saying. If you do the hamburger without the bun and maybe not the rice and add more vegetables, I think you'd be better. Remember, carbohydrate turns into glucose in your system. Glucose turns into cholesterol. It's not fat. Good, healthy fats are good for you. And the healthiest fats are Evo, extra virgin olive oil, and avocado oil. Those are the best ones for your heart health, according to my cardiologist. Hello again from Sydney. Did you just see me on 9 Network in Australia? I was there just an hour ago. You love my artwork. I don't think I do art. You mean on my walls? You can't see any. Hi, Brian from Virginia. I'm glad you're feeling better. I had Brian on my show a couple of weeks ago. He just recovered from COVID. And I'm so happy. I don't know, he and his wife are taking every precaution that we are. They don't know how they got it, but somehow they did. And now he's feeling better. Question is, what water is really the most important since we're 80% water. I think we're like 70%, but yeah, absolutely. Water. I have a glass of water right here. It's very important. I'm kind of dehydrated today too. Please tell me you have a OnlyFan. I don't know what that means is. You're having avocado for dinner tonight. That's very good. Hello. Who else did I see? I'm trying to, how many beers are they healthy? Unfortunately, beer is all carbohydrate, right? So it's really not good for you. And there's no safe amount of alcohol. Let's be honest. We do it for pleasure. We don't do it for our health. There was like one crazy study years and years ago, promoted heavily by the wine industry, that said that red wine can help reduce your chances of heart disease. And it was a bunch of baloney. So the truth is, for women especially, alcohol consumption is highly correlated with breast cancer. There's lots of studies to support that. So when we do it for pleasure. Hello, Kelly Green, who says, I look great. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. From Tennessee. Tennessee is called the volunteer state? I did not know that. What do you volunteer for, Carolyn? I'm curious. Liver cannot process it. Yes, liver has trouble with getting enough insulin out for all the, I mean, think of it, a glass of wine is like a cup of sugar. Now, you know, I'm not perfect. I just know how to be perfect. I know the news. Doesn't mean I follow it all the time. I had a glass of wine last week in this live stream, and I might have my, there's this drink I like. That's a jalapeno margarita, skinny margarita, no sugar, of course. Something about Canadian government. I haven't read it, so I can't comment on that. I'd love to see the artwork on the wall behind you. Oh, well, because it's just a staircase. There's actually, this is my loft office, and there's a roof garden out there. Here, I can show you. Oh, you guys can't see it on Instagram. Everyone else there, you can see there's my little roof garden out there where I hang. And yeah, Instagram can't see it. If I try, someone called me Dr. Teacher. Maybe you're in one of my classes. Fabulous. We have some early mornings this semester, don't we, students? 7:30 in the morning. Hello, Christine Mintini. Yeah, for sure, cut out alcohol, Mr. Koulis, if you want to lose weight. I never have that problem. I've just been an ectomorph my entire life. I've just been naturally tall and skinny, which means that I had high cholesterol and didn't even know it, because I, ate all the baskets of bread and pasta and rice and thought that because I was eating a low fat diet, that it was healthy. And then I ended up in an emergency ward and went down a rabbit hole of medicine to learn how to get the plaque out of my arteries. Someone asked me, am I still filming commercials? Yes, I do lots of commercials. I did one today, in fact. And I was the only person in this giant soundstage, except the camera operator and an audio guy who put masks on when we came up to each other for a minute. But I always feel, it doesn't happen very often. Most of my recordings I do from home now, but it's really scary to go on a set because I can't wear a mask. I'm the one talking, right? How tall am I is a question. And I used to be just a shade under 5'10" when I modeled. If you speak French, I know because I modeled in Paris, and I would always say, 1m76. 1m76. But now I think I've shrunk. I think I'm about 5'9", 5'9.5". That's what I think I am. Any other questions? Any questions about relationships? I got the science in my head. I can't stop reading it. And I'm just scanning, looking at your questions. I don't see any good relationship questions. You're just like, what, are you just sitting there with your margarita, just watching me ramble on about nothing? I did talk this week about this new study that said that 50% of single people in America don't even want a relationship and don't want to date. I mean, I've been analyzing that over and over. First of all, it's a pretty big study too. It was on 5,000 people. Most of the people, though, had been married and were either divorced or widowed. So maybe it's kind of been there, done that. And then keep in mind, a lot of young women who used to kind of pressure for marriage for fertility reasons are freezing eggs and churning ahead with their education and careers. So they're not in a hurry. And so you said, good morning, Dr. Walsh, Paul Atkinson Briggs. So that tells me it's morning where you are. And I'm guessing Australia. Is that right? Because it's evening here. Our sun is going down in Los Angeles. And I lost my train of thought. Single people. Oh, and then also men, especially men who are introverts and are afraid to go out and meet. They have all kinds of technical ways of having relationships. Like they get social support just from all the texting and sexting, and they have access to pornography. I mean, women have access to pornography too, but we're not. Oh, from England. Hello from England. Here's a good question. Let me put this one up. There we go. I like this one. Alan Schwarz says, can long distance relationships survive COVID and quarantine? It's funny you say that. I actually have a friend who's married in a separate state. Like they see each other usually once a month, but they haven't seen each other since COVID started. So I guess it really depends on the relationship, and it depends how you use technology, right? How often you're talking during the day, and the quality of those conversations, not just like, what are you doing? Where are you going? What's happening now? But really, relationships survive based on the emotional support and the intimacy. Talking about real stuff and real feelings is what becomes the glue. Hello from Baltimore, Maryland. Wow, it's a little later for you there. Okay, so that's really what I want to say. It depends. And if you were planning on getting in the same city anytime soon, you might want to do that. Okay, any more questions? I'm looking through my Facebook. Divorced and trying to date, but finding out I like them as friends only. What's wrong with having friend buildup, collecting friends? Social support is so good. You don't have to get fired up sexually for every person you meet, and that's okay. Sometimes you meet people on apps and you're like, maybe we could have a business relationship, or maybe I could fix them up with a friend. An excellent question. I can't put it on the screen because it's on Instagram, but Aiden Sana, I can't say it correctly. What about relationships after cancer? When to disclose? And not just that, there are all kinds of major serious health conditions. And when do you disclose? I would say, to be honest, if it's kind of part of your life and who you are, you're going to want to do it pretty soon. I mean, I would say by the second date, you don't want to drop a bomb 10 dates into it where you're falling in love and then the person feels like they've been deceived somehow. Why not be open, honest, and authentic? It's like people ask me, well, I have kids. When should I tell them that I have a kid? I'm like, in your dating profile? Their kid they're dating more than you. They're dating a family. Come on, that's crazy. You don't hide news like that. What was the question? Is there an expectation of accuracy? In what? In dating? Well, you would hope that you're going to have an honest relationship, and the only way to have it is to showcase it yourself, right? And be that way. I don't know. I just am big on disclosure. I'm one of those people, mind you, I have a very high shame tolerance, meaning I have pretty thick alligator skin. So I just think being open and honest from the get-go. Now, being open and honest can also include having boundaries. So you might say, hey, that's a really personal question, and I hope to know you well enough someday where I can tell you the whole story, because there's a lot of feelings behind that story. I mean, that's open, honest, and with boundaries, right? Carolyn says, a lot of college graduates in their 20s and 30s are starting their careers or pursuing their early careers, and they'd much rather have a pet, a dog or cat, instead of a mate. I've noticed that too. And it's true. But remember, they're getting all this social support from their crowds of college friends. And there isn't this social pressure to, date and move in together and get married so quickly. So Helen Fisher, the famous, what is she? Biological anthropologist. I love her. Anyway, she's the chief science officer for Match.com and has been for 12 years. And she's with the Kinsey Institute. She really she calls it slow love that young people are doing now, where they're just taking their sweet old time and they're trying out lots of relationships. And she thinks hookups can be good because you learn a lot about somebody on the pillow. So, who are we to judge the order of things? And across history and across cultures, about 20% of humans don't reproduce. They become fabulous allo parents that help with nieces and nephews or help other children they teach, or they They help build businesses that hire parents that feed babies. So it really does take a village to raise kids. Somebody's asking me, oh, this is a question. Okay, so this is actually a medical question that's kind of interesting. Someone met a man who told me he got herpes a year ago. I don't have herpes. How concerned I should be? Well, the question is how frequently he has it, whether he's aware of the sort of pre-outbreak stage where it can be very itchy and he knows it's coming, and then he knows to stay away from you and you know to stay away from him. Remember when herpes was a scare? Now AIDS came along and herpes is like, woohoo, this is easy, right? This is an interesting statement from a man who just says women want too much. You're not far off. You're really not far off, because some people think that we have asked our mate to replace the entire village. The village is going away, and we used to have a whole circle of social support, families, neighbors, cousins, etc. And now we're asking our mate to be the be all and end all. And it's true. There's a lot of pressure for both sides to be everything. Oh, here's a good one, Tobin. Let's put this up here. My girlfriend wants me to get rid of my beloved Chow Chow. That's a dog. She says they're aggressive and she doesn't want her child around the breed, even though my dog is not aggressive. That's a lot to ask. I mean, would you tell her to get rid of her child for you? I mean, I don't think she really understands the depth of a relationship that you might have with that dog. And maybe there are other ways to work around it if your dog is not aggressive. Little gates, keeping the kid apart. I don't know, like wait till the dog, teach the child how to care for dogs and treat dogs lovingly. It's kind of interesting. I wonder how long you've been with her and why she's suddenly doing this ultimatum, get rid of the dog. It's the dog or me. I have to tell you a story. Many years ago, I met this man. I ended up living with him for 5 years and getting engaged to him. He never would set a wedding date, so I bailed at a certain point. But he had these 2 gorgeous German Shepherds. And I remember the first time I went to his house, and I was not a dog person. I looked at these 2 dogs and I was like, this is not going to work. I mean, the guy's great. The house is gorgeous. He's going to have to get rid of those dogs. That's all I thought in my head, is how long till I can bring up bye-bye to the dogs. And by the time we broke up, I stayed much longer than I should have because I was so in love with the dogs. And they slept in our bed. I, had visitation rights. Came back and visited him when each of them passed away and held their heads because he couldn't tolerate it, me and the vet. I was the mommy. So who knows, right? What happens? I love it. I'm just going to put Brian's comment up because it's so true. Keep the dog. I think we all agree. Keep the dog. It seems like a lot to ask, and it also doesn't respect your relationship and your connection with your dog. I will say that. Someone's asking me Trump or Biden. I don't know. It's a mess. It's just all a mess. I bless everyone. And here's what I want to say. This is all I will say about politics. We have far more in common than not. During COVID, I've been to 8 different states. I happen to live in a blue state. I went to red states, and all I met were kind, loving, compassionate, family people. So I don't understand identity politics. Like somehow voting is a behavior, by the way, it's not an identity, that who you vote for is suddenly who you are, which is crazy. I think we have far more in common than not. Here's a question. Let's see. Kareem says, do you ever get involved when people around you, such as friends, are having relationship communication issues? Only if asked. I mean, I'm not going to jump in and go, you know what you really should do here? I wouldn't get to be a friend for long. But when asked, all the time, I just love the science of relationships. And by the way, if I teach you anything today, if you haven't heard me teach it in the past, let me teach it now. If you want to be heard and you want to make a kind of criticism or negative suggestion, you need to make what's called a communication sandwich. And a communication sandwich goes like this. It starts out with a layer of love. Then it's followed by something a little hard to chew on, and then it's backed up right away with a layer of love. This is good communication skills, because if all you're doing is criticizing somebody, all their brain is doing is getting defensive and thinking about what their comeback is going to be. They're not even hearing you. So start out with a compliment, then throw in a little bit, but and then back it right up with a different compliment. And also, when someone is also criticizing what feels like criticizing to you, rather than getting defensive, mirror their words back to them in your own words. Like, I think I'm hearing that you're feeling, then people feel heard. Half the time they're arguing over nothing because they're not feeling heard. A boss question. Okay, bosses are different. Best approach, Hannah says, to deal with a difficult bleeping type of boss. Well, you can't change your boss. It's not like a romantic relationship. They can probably lose you just fine. A work relationship is very different. You have to obey them. There's a chain of command. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't toxic bosses out there, manipulative bosses, people who don't want to see you succeed. If you find that it's really impacting your health because you have so much anxiety at work, then you do need to look for another job. Now, if you're going to stay in it, you're going to find a new way. I can say this: if your boss is hard on you, he or she is probably hard on someone else too. So you need to build an alliance. You need to quietly ask around the office. You need to have friends. If it does border on real abuse, as a group, you can go make a complaint to HR, right? So that you're doing something. But don't try to change them. Don't ever try to change a boss. They are in charge. Have I ever been a boss? Yes, of course I've been a boss. I'm a terrible boss. I'm too nice. They walk all over me. But yes, I have been a boss. I take a deep breath and talk myself through putting up with him before seeing him in person. Yeah, that's kind of what you got to do. And again, find allies. If it actually is abuse, then report it, and also maybe look for another job. Okay, they're waving up here on Instagram, but no questions. Over here. Oh, good. You're welcome, Hannah. I am glad that I nailed it. Oh, I love it. Laren says, Laren, Rhiannon begs, I'm in love with my very recent ex's dog, and she's crying. I know exactly. You have the bond with the animal. And you're like, the human can leave. I'll just keep that. Okay. Any other questions about dating, mating, relating, love, the science of? I'm really a little bit nerdy and obsessed with the science of. This Sunday on my radio show, I'm going to do a really interesting segment about how marriage can actually change your personality. And it changes men's personality differently than women's personalities. Remember the big 5 personality traits: ocean, openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, what's the A? And neuroticism. Oh my God. It's OCEAN. Why am I drawing a blank? Anyway, those big 5 personality traits change with many people when they get married. Question up here: how relationship can stay longer due COVID? During COVID, I guess. I live in Mexico and he lives in the USA. It's hard. It's really hard to have long distance relationships, especially when you need the closeness and the touch and the intimacy. And I've said this before, and it's true. COVID is kind of a make or break time for people. Plenty of relationships are growing closer. People are dating online and becoming very emotionally intimate quickly and moving in quickly because they want that. You can't, during a pandemic, you can't be just juggling a million relationships, right? So that's not safe. And so it's forcing some people to get closer faster, but then other people are looking at the quality of the relationship and saying, they're not. Hi, Karen. How are you? Karen in Ottawa. We need to catch up. I have more to tell you. We had a long conversation last week. Anyway, do you have any tips for interracial dating? Okay. So I want to say one thing about interracial dating. When you know somebody's race, you know about as much about them as if you know their shoe size. Because within every culture, you are going to see a whole range of everything: socioeconomic status, education, ethnicity, right? And so, I raised my biracial children in very diverse Venice Beach, California, and they went to schools that had no ethnic majority. And Mr. Kulas is still here. He knows, he remembers. And so it was a different kind of environment. So it's not only about sort of what is the culture of your mate, but what zip code you live in as far as what the diversity is in your neighborhood. The answer, of course, is that children are both. And my kids, my oldest daughter, well, you'd have to ask them how they self-identify. I think my oldest daughter definitely identifies Black. And lately, because of Black Lives Matter, I think my youngest one too, I used to say, no, she doesn't. And then for a while they identified biracial. It doesn't matter. I just honor both their genetic history and cultural history. And that's all I try to do. Really, once you have the baby in your hands, it doesn't matter what color they are. It's your baby. And whether they have blonde hair, or blue eyes, or green eyes, or brown eyes, I don't, you just don't see it anymore. Oh, it's an interesting one. What can I tell my female Facebook friends who are having trouble finding a good man? Well, every case would be different. But in general, if you're having trouble finding somebody, you're going out there with the idea that if you find the perfect person, then you'll have a great relationship. But actually, the truth is great relationships come from good relationship skills, right? And so relationships are far more about skill than luck. And some of your friends, unbeknownst to them or you, may actually have some attachment injuries. Our early life attachments become a blueprint for love that we then cast onto our adult romantic relationships. And if we were brought up with longing and abuse and criticism, then we will find partners who will behave the exact same way because that's familiar to us. So it's about learning how to understand our own attachment style and to change the pattern as best we can. So the answer is have them go to therapy and find out more about themselves. I would say that. And, also anybody who says, I can't find the right person is out there on the dating scene looking like a needy person, right? Who are the ones who get the mates? Ones who go, not really into a relationship right now. And then they always get the mates. Yes, I should put my glasses on. I have them. And then I could see better. But the problem with the glasses is I can see the words better, but then there's all this reflection from the light. So I do need to get, Robert, I'm sorry, I do need to get some better lens, that non-reflective lens. Okay, is that it? Any more questions? That's it? It's a pleasure to see you. I think producer Brooke is editing it right now. I don't know when it's coming out, tomorrow or the next day. We're re-releasing an episode of Mating Matters podcast. The most popular episode is called The Trouble with Testosterone, but I made a new opening. I interviewed former NHL player Brooks Like, and he has a podcast called How Men Think. And I talked to him because he is a high testosterone alpha male. And anyway, listen to Mating Matters podcast. Podcast episode is called The Trouble with Testosterone. And I will be back here on Sunday live, not here live, you know where, on the iHeartRadio app and on KFI AM 640 radio here in Los Angeles from 4 to 6 Pacific time every single Sunday, the Dr. Wendy Walsh Show. You're welcome always to send me your questions and comments, and I can talk about them on the air. Otherwise, I'm here every Wednesday at 6. So thanks for being here. Bye. Thank you. Good to see you.